I'd like to call the regular scheduled committee of the whole meeting for August 25th, 2026 to order. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda from administration?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of council, council's approval. I'd just like to add one under 10.11, and it's just an update on derelict properties.
Anything from council? Motion to accept the addition to the agenda. Councillor Cosby, thank you. Discussion? Call to question. All in favor? And a motion to accept the amended agenda. Councillor Butcher, thank you. Call that question. All in favor? And that's carried as well. We don't have any public input, delegations, or presentations tonight. Any unfinished business, Mr. Van Buel?
None from administration, Mr. Mayor.
Anything from council? Okay, new business 8.1, an RFD from the RCMP regarding discussion at the Alberta municipalities with senior management of the RCMP.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So this is an annual opportunity for the municipality to request meetings with, in this case, RCMP at the Alberta Municipalities Conference in September. This is one that we have generally, as a municipality, taken advantage of, and I guess to our good fortune or good luck or good management, whatever you want to, however you want to put it, we normally do get an appointment with the RCMP to talk about any of the priorities that we may have. But they do ask for a list of those priorities and what we want to talk about, and it gives their staff an opportunity to prepare for that discussion with Redwater if we'd like to go. So basically what I'm asking is, do we want a meeting, and if so, what are the topics of discussion for council? Sorry.
Councillor Smith?
I move to direct administration to request a meeting with Alberta RCMP commanding officer and senior executive members during the Alberta Municipalities 2026 convention on September 23rd to 25th, 2026, and to raise matters as discussed by committee of the whole as topics of discussion.
Thank you. Discussion by council. Go ahead, Councillor Swayze.
I know you have the one on here about Opal Corner and traffic safety and stuff like that, but I don't know, just the last couple of weeks I've just noticed the amount of e-scooters and quads, and I'm not against, I'm a dirt biker, I'm not against them just going in and out of town and that, but it seems like people are driving their quads around, using them as transportation to get from one spot to another in town, as well as using golf carts as handicap vehicles and stuff like this, and it's, I don't know. I think some of them are being very polite and very good, and I don't have a problem with that, but some of them, it's getting out of hand, I think.
We've got one right behind us where the son drives his dirt bike on the highway. You know, and he's out there ripping it up and going down the streets, and
it's not just that, it's the, like, even the speeding around town and stuff like that. It just general traffic safety around town. So I don't know how that fits in there.
No, it's I can honestly tell you from some of the connections that I have electronically for news feeds and stuff like that, the e-bikes, the e-scooters, those mobility aids and that sort of thing are all a contentious issue in many provinces, let alone just municipalities.
I see a couple times I've seen now somebody coming up to the Tim Hortons on and I know it's bigger than a 50cc little electric bike, and no helmets, and the one kid had a skateboard helmet on, and it was too small for his head even. Like,
so that would definitely be a good conversation piece to have, especially because, if I'm not mistaken, e-bikes currently aren't legislated.
My understanding is you can, like even in the city of Edmonton where they are, those companies have special permission. You are not allowed to take your own e-scooter out on public sidewalks even. You can spin around and do donuts in your own driveway, but as soon as you touch that sidewalk, it's actually illegal.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of council, if we remember back, I think it was 2 years ago, the province put in a pilot program for municipalities where they could make their communities,
Golf cart safe.
Golf cart.
yeah, right, and that was the terminology they used, but it covers mobility scooters, it covers all these things that aren't considered to be off-road vehicles. And now, I believe it was end of June, the province expanded that because they only allowed a certain number of municipalities to join the pilot program, and now they've expanded it. Municipalities can make application to the province to allow that and allow a bylaw to go forward with how they're going to use that. So that might be the discussion that we have with the RCMP is, if we don't have that, what's their stance on enforcing? Right? Are they going to enforce, for lack of a better term, the way the law is written, or more aptly, not written? Or is the RCMP's stance going to be, you need to make your, before we're going to enforce, you're going to have to make your community compliant somehow? Because that's a different discussion for council to have based on where the RCMP are at with this whole pilot project.
Going back to what Dwayne said, I mean, the one that really concerns me is little scooters like Rosie's. And she drives on the highway. And you know, when you can only do 30 kilometers on the highway, you know, a big truck comes up behind them, kaboom.
And that's my issue, is not so much, like, I understand people using them and all that other stuff. And like I said, I'm a dirt biker, so I'll grab my dirt bike, I'll go out the back alleys and I'll get out of town and I go riding. Fine. But it's the safety side of it. I got my helmet, I got my gear on. It's a lot of these kids don't have proper gear. They don't signal, don't anything.
Stop.
That's the real, yeah.
So that's a good one to have on the list. I know this probably doesn't fit with the commanding officer, but I think it might be something for your conversations with Sergeant Dehan, is I just about lost the side of my car yesterday at the post office because I was backing out of a spot and had checked nobody coming, and I'm stuffed with my head hard over my right shoulder trying to see what's coming down the street behind a pickup truck that I'm beside, and somebody pulled left of center,
Yeah.
coming the other direction from my left, and parked in beside me, and I was cutting the wheel to back out. And unless you're actually leaving the highway, my understanding is that's not allowed. So that would be one of those local problems that he could maybe talk to his traffic guys about.
And that's a big issue.
Well, it is. You see it regularly downtown. People are going north and they park in the west lane just because they're going to go south when they leave. And I know it's not probably going to cause somebody's death or anything, but if there's a bang, it's we should at least be talking to the police about it in advance. I think the highway is one of the things that we should be talking to the command about as well, what their traffic program is going to look like in and around here, especially if there's some construction coming for Highway 28.
Actually, and ask if they know when they're gonna be back up to full capacity, because there's gonna be way more traffic on the roads going to Pembina.
It would be interesting to know if there's been anything put forward with respect to enhanced enforcement in the construction area as well.
Yeah, And, sorry, Mr. Mayor, that's kind of what I wrote down here in my notes was, you know, that highway, the traffic consideration on Highway 28 and 38 during the construction, you know, meta. We know there's some fairly big projects, and it's gonna be time limited because there's a start and an end time for that construction. Problem is by the time whatever is gonna happen, those statistics show up, you're gonna be halfway through the project, and then, everybody's gonna say, well, it's gonna be done in a year, so,
That's the problem.
we're not gonna add any members or whatever. So, and, for counselors who haven't been there, there is a representative from the province there as well, so it's not just the RCMP, so it's a good opportunity to go, look, there's some things that we can forecast here that we don't have to wait to happen. And can we get ahead of some of this stuff on the traffic safety side?
It doesn't work. We've seen it with NWR. They don't think ahead.
It was halfway through before they got,
In the enhancement, yeah.
Well, that's,
We were 4 years or whatever before they put the lights up, after construction was done. So,
so that gives us a couple of three anyway. Anything else council would like to see? So the motion on the floor is to talk as we've discussed. Anything further from council? Not seeing anything, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Reports, operations. I'm assuming you're Mr. Davison, Mr. Van Buell.
yeah, so, Mr. Mayor, members of council, not only am I Mr. Davison today, I'm also going to be Ms. Tingley as well. So I'll go through, I've gone through these. I've been given kind of the high-level updates of what happened, because as you're aware, I just returned to the office yesterday as well. So reading these reports kind of helped me figure out what was going on. And I've kind of got some trends here for you that I'll kind of highlight, and you can go through these as you go through it. As I'm sure council's aware, from a capital perspective, everybody in the province is a little bit behind of where they wanted to be, just because even the projects that got started on time kind of got delayed when we had that wet weather early in our construction season, and anybody who was scheduled late is now a little bit later. So the good news on the capital programs is our sidewalks did get done, as you're aware, and our overlays are kind of taken care of. I drove the 54th. I'll be very honest with you. It turned out better than I thought it would. I was a bit skeptical with the approach that we were recommended to take. I didn't know how well that would turn out. But from what I can see, again on the surface, I think it turned out better than I thought it would be. Now it's a matter of how well it holds up. But, and 44th Street is done as well. There's been a couple of things that we've had to deal with, just, rain hasn't caused them, but rain has exposed them, and one of them is our building. I guess they call it Building 13, but that's the dance studio. Okay. We've had some issues with leaking roof there, and we do have a proposal that's been given to us, and it's actually way less than we thought it was going to be. Right now they're saying about $79,000 to do a complete, and the roof that's there is a foam, and so you basically redo the foam that's on top of it, so you don't have to do a complete roof repair. And it does have a 10-year warranty on it for leaks, et cetera, so we're still doing some more research on whether that's going to work for us, and what temperatures we need to have to do that. So there may be a possibility that we can still get that done in September, but we're still doing a little bit more work on that. We'll stay tuned. From the other stuff, all of our equipment's in. We're just working on right now getting everybody trained up, especially on the new blower getting everything, set up from the, distributor's perspective, not the manufacturer, but, and that's Industrial Machine on the snow blower. But, our plan is to have everybody trained, et cetera, well before snow starts to fly on that. The other one is Phase 1 Cell Lagoon aeration replacement is scheduled for August 20th, 21st. But again, weather's kind of throwing us back. Not a big one. We'll get that done this year. We do know, we've got that report, and we're starting to cost out what further years are gonna cost us, and so you'll see those coming up in the upcoming budget. We'll have that outlined a little bit better. I think the biggest good news that we got is, if you remember, we were under budget on our CFEP program for our furniture replacement, et cetera. And the handicap lift in the arena came in a little bit over budget. And we got approval from CFEP to transfer that money into the extra money that we had on the furniture side into the lift side. So it's not quite done yet. All the modifications have been made to the bleachers. We are just waiting now for the lift company to come in and install the lift. But it's on budget. We're hoping it'll be done before we actually open up the season, but it can, because all the modifications have been done to the bleachers, it's just a matter of installing the lift. So, bylaw report, as everybody's aware, bylaw's been busy, especially with grass growing at a record pace, especially now that it's gotten a little bit warm. I don't know about everybody else's grass, but I'm on a twice a week schedule now, minimum.
It was good that he had somebody out there measuring grass and stuff.
So, yeah, I heard about that one. Onward and upward, again, Public Works, the other trend here is our Public Works crews and I had a request yesterday even for some more cleanup from different areas in town that are, trees are still down and we're still getting to them. Like, we're still trying to get to them. So, the wind that we had early, the rain that we had early, we're still, pardon the pun, we're still digging out.
Go ahead.
On that, just on the trees and that's to do with the storm. I know how Garnet was gonna set up that certain areas. And I was at the ball tournament on the weekend, and the trees on the ball diamond on Centennial Park, that's maybe one area that has to be looked at every year, not just because, well, especially this year with the growth on the trees, they're out over top of the foul line and causing problems there. And so if we want to keep that diamond up to spec, for lack of better words, then that's something that may have
Yeah,
to
we may have to.
look at that every year and have it trimmed for ball
fair.
tournaments and for Little League and all that stuff. So.
Part of gas, again, we keep on moving on with the meter replacements. It's an ongoing program. On the wastewater side, I was informed while I was on vacation, we had another pump failure at the lift station, so that's 2 this year. And I'll give you the silver lining for this. It's starting to give us more ammunition in our grant proposal. Like, not only is it, undersized for what it's doing right now, it's starting to cause us extra money in maintenance. So I don't know that it'll make a difference, but it certainly won't hurt in our future grant applications. So. The sanitary service replacement at 5024 50th Street, which is part of the spot repairs. I know we're it's high on our priority list. We're getting ready to do it probably in the next week. We're gonna give residents notice because we're gonna have to close that road for probably 2-3 days. Kind of in the middle, like, so we'll have to have some communications with our staff. And the reason why we're gonna have to close that road is that sanitary service is just about dead center of that street. It's not on one side or the other. It is literally pretty much dead center of the street. So there's no way of getting the new service tied in without going all the way kind of across the street. And so the contractors talked to us and we said, yeah, you know, we don't want to, but if we have to, we have to. And we'll be communicating those timelines, and we'll give, we've asked the contractor to give us at least a week notice so that we can get proper communication out to our residents. Pembina Place operations, we had some movement in staff, just when one of our staff left, we've actually filled internally, and now we just started a new external person came in as a new operator. So we did promote one of our former operators into an administrative role, and so far so good. So that started about a month and a half ago, and everything's going well there. So what else to go? Just some really good news items. So our wedding wire inquiries, you know, we're still getting lots of public interest for the use of the cultural center, which is good. It's a fantastic facility. I think the one hiccup this year was we did have a problem with our audio-visual equipment. When we had a power bump, we had some issues with it, and we're still doing a little bit of, what would I call it? We're still chasing some ghosts in the electronics and that, but I think we've got it pretty much figured out now. There was one event in there after we thought we had it fixed that still had a problem. We did get it fixed during the event, and I think we've got it sorted out now. Campground, I think as it's a pretty normal year for the campground. It's been busy at times, it's been slow at times, and away we go. What else? The pool, just an update, the pool, last day the staff was there was, I believe, Monday, so the pool is now, all of our staff have gone back to university and onto their winter endeavors or fall endeavors. Always a bit of an issue with our community because, of course, it's nice out, they still want to use it. The issue isn't the weather, the issue is our ability to staff at this time of the year, and that's just, it's one of the unfortunate parts.
Did we have any hiccups with the pool this year?
No, you know, knock on wood.
Other than the rain?
Yeah, I mean, there was the rain and like, they're pumps, they're mechanical things. We always have minor little things, but nothing major. Even our, I wouldn't call them shutdown days, but our caution days with smoke, et cetera, weren't like past years. I mean, obviously, we don't have the same amount of forest fires in Alberta as we had in the past. Just as a note, I forget what day it was in August, but there was a day in August, it was a Saturday or Sunday, it was the first day of August in 40 years that Alberta had no burning fires. It was,
No out of control fires.
no burning fires. There was no fires in Alberta.
No wildfires.
Yeah, I read that.
No wildfires.
Yeah, and they said going back 40 years, which kind of goes back to my time when I worked for, 40 years ago, I worked for forestry in the summers. Anyway, this one is taking, and I don't know why, I think it's just, I don't think there's anything other than it's a time issue, getting people the time to get it done. and that's both on our side and Pembina's side, and that is the discussions with Pembina regarding the facility naming rights are ongoing. So, we haven't forgot about it. Their agreement ends this year. We've been in talks with them about even expanding their naming rights and adding dollars to what that gives us. And I think with the announcements that Pembina's had this last summer, they're occupied in other areas right now. But we do have a commitment that those talks will be completed shortly. The last thing that I'll do on this one, and it's on the OHS, and as you are aware, we repurposed, we split Jennifer Beezer's position into a halftime safety coordinator position in our organization late last year, early this year. And Jen expressed some interest in joining the Fed Gas Health and Safety Working Group. So that's a group of like-minded professionals that talk about the gas thing. And so we sponsored her into that, and she was accepted. So she's going to be working on that. And that's just really good experience for our staff, and rounds out their experience and their expertise in a way that really helps out our organization. So, congratulations to her, and again, good on her bringing that forward, that she had that interest, and we're certainly more than happy to support her in that. Other than that, I think there's a whole bunch of stats here. I probably can't answer a whole bunch of questions on them, but if there are any questions, certainly we'll take them down and we'll get the answers for you at the next meeting.
Go ahead.
We had a special meeting and did the $5,000 allocation or shift to apply for funding, to apply for a grant
Yes.
for the stormwater flooding. Has anything, do we have somebody doing that application, or?
Councillor Cowley and members of council, that work has started, so we've started doing that. Again, the deadline is October. I just got back yesterday, and I know that I've missed 2 phone calls from the contact at Associated Engineering, Andrew Christopher. He and I have to sit down this week and finalize what that timeline looks like and what information they need from us. So.
And Garnet had said that they wouldn't be sitting back waiting for that report. Do you know what they have done, or if they have done?
I don't right now. I know, I spoke with Mr. Christopher right before I left. I signed all the documents. I know they've been working on what that looks like. They have not gotten us the list yet of what we need to provide for them, and that's the next thing that I want.
Yeah, I was thinking more of the obvious pinch points in the flow of water, where Garnet said they know where the problem is, that they can do some work without that report.
I saw one thing mentioned somewhere where they cleaned the ditches around Red Rest and that, mowed all the grass in there. That was one of the pinch points. And they found the basin on the sidewalk beside the Red Baron, and they cleaned that out too.
Yeah,
Two
so,
things I know about.
yeah, as far as that, so there was a catch basin kind of in the lawn by Burger Baron, just kind of in the grass to the west. And I know that was next to totally plugged, and I know that's been taken care of. We haven't resized it. All we've done is kind of done some maintenance in there. As Councillor Spicer said, we had people walking back in there with weed whips trying to, clear out some of the grass. And I know the other thing that has been completed was there was an undersized culvert on, what street is that? 46th. So there was an undersized culvert that we took out of there. So it's an open ditch right now. So we've, short of finding out what size culvert we need to put in there, we just opened up the ditch. The one, I guess, kind of negative on that was we found a gas line that wasn't showing up on any of our maps. It was a capped gas line that was replaced with another one, but it wasn't flagged as removed. Or sorry, it was flagged as removed on our map, but it wasn't actually physically removed. It was capped, it wasn't removed, so.
Removed from service.
Yeah. But it was physically still there, so when we pulled out that culvert, we didn't rip the gas line, but, and again, our guys are pretty good. They went, oh, this isn't right, and did some more exploration and we found the gas line, capped it properly, and then got rid of the, the other thing that we've found out there is, there is another underground storm water line that goes down 40, what avenue is that, 45th?
Yeah.
46 is the furthest south avenue.
So it'll be 46th Avenue. And it actually goes underground, and that's the one we're worried about that is undersized, because that's why, Mr. Mayor, if you remember when we were going around, there's a catch basin there and nothing's happening, right? And it was just going right over top, because underground, it's full, so now it's just going surface, so. We found that, again, when we cleaned the ditch
And if I'm not mistaken, the problem that we have with that is we don't know where the outfall is. We know where the input is, but there's nothing to show where it's coming out on the other end. So that's an exploration that has to take place.
we did find the outfall,
Oh, you did? Good.
but it is
Small.
small, so.
So that would be on the very south end of town, and it's halfway down the block. So you've got coming into the middle, and there was a catch basin, but as far as everybody knew, there wasn't anything working with it. So that's one
We
of the
did find the
things
outfall, but it is.
difficult.
The amount of water that was coming, it
And
couldn't.
I know people online won't be able to see this. That ditch is probably this deep. And the outfall line that we found is about that big around. So, I don't know how undersized it is, but I know it's undersized.
And that's where it drained to the ditch?
Yep. So, on that, those people on the back of 46, like, all that water comes out, off that field onto that street, right? And we're going, "Oh, so where's it going?" Because, like I said, here, I'm just gonna go over here. I know this is awkward, but
It's right about here.
so between 48th Street and 46th Street on 46th Avenue, there's a catch basin. And that catch basin catches water, not just west of 46th Street, but it catches water west of 46th Street and east of 48th Street. It comes back to the middle of the block like this, goes underground, and is supposed to come out on 46th Street over here. That's where that outfall, we found that pipe, it's about 8 inches big. So when all this water comes and people's sumps, whatever else are working, they're putting it on the street, it's not going underground like it should be, because that is,
capacity, it's
it's
over.
that capacity, so it's just going surface draining all the way past this. People who are getting hit the hardest with this are the people right on the east end of 46th Street, before it gets into this. And so we pulled this culvert going, that should allow that to drain. But then when we cleaned the rest of the ditch, we found that outfall, and it's just not big enough.
That must have been there for a long time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's been there forever.
And it's not on the plans.
Sorry, I know that was awkward for everybody.
I think too, Councillor Cowley, one of the things, I talked with Mr. Davison last week, and he was saying that they're trying to program some of those steps so that they're not redoing something later on that they find that they didn't do it right the first time. So that progression of finding the culverts, figuring sizing, and reinstalling and stuff, they're doing it step by step to make sure it's proper.
I was under the impression that he was starting, basically where the water leaves town and working his way back in.
Definitely.
Along 44th Street there, to open those up because they're, water's back up every spring.
The one at the entrance to the town shop, the underground culverts going across the road towards the transfer station. Those are the end of the line ones that are gonna get looked at first. If I'm not mistaken, I know Councillor Olson, Councillor Smith and Butcher were here at the time. That culvert that was replaced at the entrance to the town shop wasn't done that long ago. So it's one of those, we have to redo it because it wasn't properly sized, that sort of thing. So, so this is why they're wanting to be cautious and make sure they get it right the first time around.
Yeah, we put 3 culverts in down there, north of that road,
Yeah.
oversized. They're probably still undersized.
Yeah. All right, anything from Mr. Van Buell on the operations report? Any further? Go ahead, Councillor Swing.
I saw that our gas line replacement project was deferred because the contractors pulled out. I was wondering why. And then are we going to do like twice as much next year? Because
Mr. Mayor, members of council, Councillor Spicer, I know I got that. I don't know the answer to your questions just yet, but it's one of those ones where I go, I know we were having problems finding a contractor ahead of time, before I left. And I know that Garnet thought he had somebody lined up. In the last 4 weeks, something fell through, and we'll find out. I think the answer to the second part of the question is, that would be my expectation, is that, you know, it'll be that much more money. Yeah. And hopefully prices go down. Sorry.
We can dream.
Yeah, well, like I
Sure he
said,
gets impeached in February.
with all the delays too, it would have been hard to, with all the rain delays, hard to get people to do.
yeah, and, you know, all the underground work, and Mr. Mayor, we were at tournaments and everybody, you know, all the municipalities are going, how's your capital projects going? And they're all going, yeah, they're all behind. And, you know, I do know that, I'm just trying to think of the municipality, because I was reading it in a paper somewhere, or on a news feed. They canceled some of their undergrounds just because they didn't want to dig in, because they didn't want to deal with the water issues. They went, you know, let's wait on this because it will drive up their costs. And it's something that a contractor won't bid on until they know. They won't tell you how much it's going to cost until they know what they're dealing with, and you won't know what you're dealing with until you open up the ground.
Anything regarding the facility reports, usages? Food bank hampers, just a statistical report from them, that's good. Corporate services.
I know this, sorry, Mr. Mayor, member, as I said earlier, I'm also going to be Miss Tingley today. Again, some highlights here. July 1, our tax penalty was assessed following the June 30th property tax deadline. So our penalty calculated for 2026 is up just about right around that $10,000 mark. It tells you people's ability to manage that kick in the economy, I guess, is the best way to put it. So it does affect our cash flow. Again, we are in a good cash flow position. That $10,000 isn't gonna make or break us, but it does give council an idea of where the community's at and their ability to pay. And certainly we, in administration, are aware of that. I do know that we had some staffing shortages, and when I say shortages, people weren't gone. But after the flood, we had our after the storm and our rain event, we had a lot of staff doing other duties. And I did make a call because I was asked if our staff are gonna be doing shut-offs in July. And I made a call that said, no, we don't have the manpower to go out and do that. We wanted our manpower focused on the cleanup area. And we'll have a better idea of what's going on in August. So August right now is 0. It tells me people our staff are getting that message out, and we are starting to see more compliance, but there is, I believe, a change in how we're doing that now as well.
Okay. Mr. Spicer?
Just a quick note, the totals for the July 31st and June 30th are the same. Should be.
The math is gone.
Like I said, I know just before I went, after the wind event, and we were cleaning up, and it was, do we want our staff doing this, or do we want them doing that? So, but that is more than likely the
I think it's just an addition here on the two packages.
Those are some big users though. I mean, on average, it's what, around $600 per bill.
What else can I highlight here? So our business license revenues are good. Our campground revenues are all good. Pool use revenue is good. So they're all at or better than budget. So that's all good news. What else can I highlight there? Not a bunch.
Assessment revisions.
Pardon me?
Assessment revisions.
Yeah, I don't know where I know that we've had we've had some inquiries, but I don't know where they're at. I did not get an update.
Well, that's for this year, but I'm saying that in here we've had a reduction in municipal taxes levied of 9,000 for July. In June, it was, I've seen it somewhere here.
It was $2,800 total.
And that's, again, that goes back to the assessment not being finalized before we send the tax bill out.
Well, I think that, Councillor Cowley, I think that's certainly part of it, but the other part of it is, there's a process in place for people to say, no, I think my assessment is wrong, right? And when do you have that? It probably won't affect budget as much as it affects what, it won't affect the budget in October as much as it'll affect your actuals in July or August, right?
Well, I think at the last meeting, when I asked about it, you said that there was a buffer added into the revenue, a pretty healthy one.
So,
If we had the assessments done before we did the mill rate bylaw, then the figures would match.
there,
It's just the allocation would change.
yeah, and the allocation changes, and they're never gonna match 100%. Like that, I mean, we'd be magicians if we could get it to match 100%. Because there's always, some of the new assessment, we won't know until it actually comes on board, right? Like if you have a new build, if you have a new and that happens after that July, you still have an assessed value that might not be accurate, right?
But just because we can't be 100% doesn't mean we should be 85%. There's a big gap in between.
Fair. That's fair.
I think this year we've got 3 commercial appeals. It could be
Significant. Yeah.
a pretty healthy dent in the revenue if they're successful.
I don't think the appeals will actually, that won't, you can get your numbers closer by having that buffer in there and putting out those, but if they come in and appeal, and those appeals take how X amount of time, we may not, that could still change our year to.
But when you're setting up the bylaw, the mill rate bylaw, you know what is needed in that buffer if you want.
So in order to, and Councillor Cowley, I agree with you. In order to hit that, you have to have your assessment appeal date well in advance of your bylaw date, of your final mill rate, right? So if you're doing your mill rate in May, now let's just say the first week in May is when you're finalizing your mill rate bylaw. You're gonna have your assessment appeals completed probably the end of February, no later, right? Because you still need March and April to do your calculations and know what the outcome of those appeals are. So if your deadline is February 28th, you're not gonna know on March 1st what the outcomes of those appeals are.
I know I have property in Morinville and they do it, we get the assessment notice early in the year. You can appeal, and they might not know the outcome of the appeal, but at least they know how many dollars they're dealing with that are in that gray area.
Yes.
Whereas here, we're just adding.
Yeah, when no doubt, when we do the way we do it right now, when we do our mill rate bylaw, we don't know what our appeal, like how much money is, or how, what percentage of our properties or anything is in appeal, because that doesn't happen until, quite frankly, that appeal date is after even tax date. Okay? So you're absolutely correct on that. And that's what we want to work towards changing. For sure.
You agree on that one?
Yep.
If I might throw something in there too, I think one of the problems is that the assessments are based on an area, and someone has the ability to specialize one property within that area by way of appeal. And that property might be devalued or increased value depending compared to the rest of the area. So unless you actually physically go and assess each and every residence in town each and every year, you don't know what that baseline really is. It's just a guess. So.
But changing and just to make Councillor Cowley's point, changing the date of appeal, the date of appeal gives you an idea of how many, what percentage, what dollar value you're dealing with. And you're correct, even if you don't know what the outcome of that is, at least you know what your risk factor is, I guess, is maybe the better way of putting it.
Okay. Anything else for Mr.
There is
Head?
one thing that I
Yes.
really want to highlight for you, because this is important, because it's coming, it's going to be a very big project for us as administration, not just next year, but probably the year after that. And so what we did was, in the report, there's the guiding principles for our ERP assessment and implementation strategy. So this is the part that we're doing right now. And I really want council to understand, I'm not going to go through them, line by line. But we put this in here because this is really the basis for how we're going to go forward and how we're going to make decisions administratively on what system we use, how far our integration goes, et cetera, et cetera. And so there's there's principles that we've put together. And one of the things we will do is we will hold a workshop with council about the whole project, how it's going to be managed, what those funds are. As I said today, we had a meeting today on this with our consultant who's working through just the ERP phase, the purchasing phase of this. He said, what we gotta remember is, yes, we need something that works today, no doubt. But we also need to make sure that we're not replacing this in 5 years because it's obsolete again. These systems are too expensive to buy, and they're too complicated and labor intensive to implement to be doing this every 5 years. You know, the Diamond system was purchased probably 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and has served us well until now. It's now at end of life. We're gonna be thinking about what we want this new system to do, not just today, tomorrow, 5 years from now, but 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now. And one of the principles here that I think is really important for us is, yes, we want to be leading edge. Like, you don't buy the end of life technology, but you also don't want to be bleeding edge. And when I say bleeding edge, we're not a municipality that has the ability or the affordability to be able to be a guinea pig. We need proven technology that's, you know, that not just works, but works in our application. If it works for the city of Edmonton, that's awesome. That doesn't mean it's gonna work for us, because we might not have the ability to pay for it, support it in the long term, et cetera, et cetera. So we need, and it's one of the foundations of this is, you wanna be leading edge, but you can't be bleeding. And part of the way we do that, and it's in the first guiding principle, and that is, we're gonna change processes to meet programs. We're not gonna change programs to meet processes. Because when you change programs to meet processes, that's when you become bleeding edge. Because if you have a custom written program, because you have a process that is not ingrained in the program, when that company does upgrades to the program, it doesn't include your customization. So now you're paying extra for customization, not only at the front side, but every time they need to do upgrades. And so I really encourage council to look at those guiding principles so that you understand what we're doing, and when we have the workshop and we talk about what we're going to accomplish and what those costs are, et cetera, and what timelines look like. You'll know how we're making decisions, because the decisions that are gonna be made, once we get the funding, council's gonna be able to challenge us based on how does this fit this principle? Right? So if you don't like the principle, let's have the discussion before we start the project.
I would think on a go-forward basis that AI is gonna completely change every program for every municipality, every corporation, everything else.
Yep. And that's one of the things that these companies are already starting to talk about, is how does AI implement into our system, right?
As long as it can adapt and grow with it.
Right, and how are they gonna do that? And again, when you start talking about customization, even more reason why you don't wanna customize, because, you know, it's not just the short-term costs of customizing, it's the long-term costs of customizing, because now, like I said, every time they make an upgrade for AI, oh, you've got this process over here that's customized, and we're trying to implement this. And, you know, in a previous municipality where I did this, when we had vendors come in and do presentations for us, we asked them, so does your does your program do X? And as soon as we heard, the vendor go, well, yeah, we can absolutely make it do that. No, that's not the question. The question was, does it do it right now? Not, can you customize it to do it? Does your out-of-the-box program do this? Right? So, again, please look at those. They're there for information right now, but they're gonna become really important when we start to roll this out.
I'm gonna ask the super dumb question. I went through the whole report and everything else, and nowhere did it tell me what ERP was. Is that the electronic replacement program? Or-
Enterprise Resource Planning.
Okay.
Yeah, at first I thought it was emergency response plan.
Well, yeah,
We came up with a few different ones of coffee.
in the report and in the flip chart thing, nowhere does it say what ERP is, so,
But
okay.
ERP is Enterprise Resource Planning, and so the whole idea is you plan to integrate all of your resources into that mechanism, right? So all of your, all your HR functions, all your payroll functions, all your costing functions, all your materials.
Work orders,
Work
so-
orders, purchase orders, all of that gets into one platform so that you have one single source of truth for data. You don't have a database over here and another database over here, and this database is missing, something that database has, because that's one of our biggest issues right now is we have some databases, and then we have paper databases, and they don't always say the same thing to us.
Anything else from Mr. Van Buell on the corporate services? Just at some point in time, Mr. Van Buell, doesn't have to be urgent or next meeting or anything like that. If we could get a synopsis of some of the costs that we incurred with the storms, just so council has a cross-section.
I think we're still counting.
And July summary of finance. So, looking for a motion to accept the administrative reports. Councilor Butcher. Discussion, questions? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Council reports. Councilor Spicer, anything?
Nothing to report at this time.
Councilor Cowley, anything to add to yours?
Just what's written there.
Councilor Butcher?
Nothing at this point.
Councilor Olson?
Be next meeting.
Councilor Cosby?
Nothing at this time, Your Worship.
Councilor Smith, anything to add to yours?
No, but when I look at yours and Councillor Cowley's, I realize I'm not really filling in a whole lot of information.
Yeah, I read them.
But no, nothing to add.
Okay. And the only thing I have to add to mine is I just wanted to let council know we had a discussion at one of our meetings with respect to meeting the Minister of Municipal Affairs at Alberta Munis. We've received correspondence that he is not meeting with anyone at Alberta Munis this year, but we have been given a slot, I believe, with Mr. Boltrus, if I'm not mistaken, to go over issues and that sort of thing. So that's the latest on that. So, look for a motion to accept council reports as presented.
I'll make that motion, Your Worship.
Councillor Cowley, thank you for that.
Oh, yeah, you were faster than me, Ed.
Councillor
Make a
Olson.
motion to go in closed session.
All in favor of the motion? No, all in favor of the motion to accept the reports?
No.
And in closed session, Councillor Olson? Thank you. Call that question, all in favor? Good. And we'll need a minute to Look for a motion to come out of closed session. Councillor Spicer. Call that question, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Councillor Cosby.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.